Good evening. Welcome back to the Spurs DANalyst. So tonight's show is going to be called The Penalty Box. So I hope you enjoy. First live stream on my channel, so bear with us at times. Got to get used to the whole hosting thing. But yeah, let's get going. So let's introduce our guests tonight. So we have Adam, who's an Arsenal fan, and he likes to be called, what is it, Adam? Anti what?
Anti-AFTV Arsenal fan.
Yeah. And then we have Tom, who's a Chelsea fan, and he thinks he's quite level-headed, but we'll see.
I would describe myself compared to some Chelsea fans.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see as the conversations go on. And then we've got Adrian, Man United fan, who's a bit delusional.
Yep. Yep. I'll say wildly optimistic, but a bit delusional, because if you ask me, I want to win the league every year. Doesn't matter how we start the league. Every year it has to be the league. That's why we have to finish. So yeah, I think maybe some people think I'm a bit deluded by saying that, but yeah, you have to have the expectations.
Fair play. So yeah, just been doing YouTube now for maybe nearly a month, and I found it quite challenging talking into the camera. It's quite a lonely world, I found it, but I've been pretty consistent with my my uploads, streams, whatever you want to call them, and doing my TikToks and YouTube shorts, and yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's taken a bit more time than I thought, but yeah, let's see how it goes. And I wanted to do a live show when the season started to get other people involved, because as I said, it's a bit lonely. So it's nice to have you guys on here tonight. So thank you for coming on, and let's just see how it goes.
Yeah, man, appreciate the invite as well, man.
Yeah. Nice
and
one.
I think all you guys are new as well. You haven't done this live streaming YouTube before.
Absolutely not.
No, we're all newbies there. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So where we're going to start. So Adrian's going to kick us off with his expectations for Manchester United. Expectations for the season.
So personally, for me, I maybe some fans might not agree with me, but I personally always want to finish the highest that we possibly can. And I look at the season with this transfer window that we've had. It's been a positive transfer window. I'm hoping we can still get a couple more people through the door by the end of the transfer window. But realistically, finishing 8th and winning the trophy last year was good. The league position wasn't good, but winning the trophy was good. But I feel like now, this season, we need to push on and actually cement something in the top 4 where we're actually challenging the likes of Arsenal, Man City, and maybe even Liverpool. So for me personally, it's not about trophies. He's won 2 trophies in 2 years now. Of course, it's always nice to win a trophy, but I think right now, this year, it's about concentrating in the league, because we did finish 3rd in our first season, with Ten Hag's first season. And I think he kind of took a bit of he backslid a bit, finishing 8th. So I think really we need to now cement that top 4 and get back into the Champions League. So really, personally for me, I don't think we finished top 2. I think Man City and Arsenal probably going to finish top 2. I think because of Liverpool having a new manager, I'm not too sure about them. So I think we could finish 3rd or 4th. I would like to say 3rd, but I think it's more realistic that we finish 4th this season.
How confident are you of finishing 4th?
I think in terms of if I'm looking at the upper competition like Aston Villa, Tottenham, Chelsea, I think we've got a squad good enough, or probably even better than some of those squads, and we've got experience there. So it's not like this is not their first rodeo. Like some of these players like Rashford, Bruno, they've been around for a while now. They know the expectations from the club. So for me, finishing out of the top 4 is unacceptable, really. So yeah, obviously I'd like to say let's win the league, but You know, so I don't think that'll be good enough, or I don't think we'll be good enough to win the league this season. But yeah, top four definitely, and I think that's more than realistic in my eyes. And yeah, to be fair, obviously when I went to the game the first game of the season against Fulham last Friday, and it was a good game, but I think there was still some things about the performance that was a bit I didn't like, but then there was encouraging signs. So, for example, the way we not having us forward, we're playing Mount and Bruno together up top, and I think that in terms of pressing, it works well because those two, even though they're not the best, let's just say finishers, but in terms of like the energy they give, I think they were pressing really well from the front, especially Mount, and I think that helped us basically win the ball up a lot higher, which one of Bruno's first chances came from. So yeah, that was positive, and I think yeah, the in terms of the general play, mainly played well. The centre backs, especially with Martinez and Maguire, played well as well. But I felt like the centre backs,
Adrian, I'm going to stop you there, man. I'm going to stop you there. Adrian, I'm going to stop you there.
I'm rambling.
Hold your horses. We're going to go on to the game reviews, but thank you.
Sorry.
It's all right. Yeah. It's all right. So the prediction. Let me hear this. The prediction are you want to finish fourth. Not too interested in the cups. Is that right? Don't really care about them this year.
No.
What about you?
I want to try. I want to go as far as possible, but again, I think the league is the bread and butter. We need to finish top three or top four, yes, let's say. But I'd love to finish top three.
Has anyone, Tom, Adam, thoughts on what he said? Fourth for Man U.
I think at one point you said you don't think you did you say that you could potentially challenge for the league? Because if maybe I misheard that. If you said that, then you're definitely deluded. But I think top four for United. I mean, last season they had a lot of injuries. This season they've signed some good players. I think they've recruited fairly well. I don't know if their squad has the same depth as some of the other guys competing, but I don't think it's got as much depth as Chelsea's squad. It's probably on a par with Spurs. I think if you're United, you have to finish in the top four this season, like you said. I think Ten Hag's third year, last year, fine, FA Cup kind of papered over the cracks, but I think realistically it's top four or bust for Ten Hag. I think they'll probably be there or thereabouts, 4th, 5th, 6th. I think it'll be tight between those three positions. So yeah, wait and see.
Sorry, Tom. Can I ask you a quick question? So, do you think personally, if Ten Hag don't finish in the top four, you think he's gonna get sacked?
He should get sacked. You can't be there for 3 years. First season, fine. He probably maybe overachieved. You know, third place in the cup. They're playing some good football. He's getting best out of players like Rashford. Last season, I know they had a lot of injuries, but some of the batterings that United took, I think if they hadn't won the FA Cup, he would have been gone. So he got a little bit of a reprieve. I think this year, if you're United, again, they're spending money. They've spent money last year, spent money the year before. I feel like if Ten Hag this season, if you're not moving forward, then surely you have to draw a line in the sand and say, time's up, to try someone else. I think 3 years is long enough.
Fair enough.
Adam, anything on that from either Tom or Adrian?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I grew up with the Arsenal United rivalry, so United were always the one, on the perch, like they said about Liverpool. So it's quite, I don't know if it's sad or funny or both, to kind of hear them begging for top four. That used to be our position a few years ago. So maybe I shouldn't be too cocky about that. But I think the cup wins papered over a lot of cracks, and they've lost that fear factor. Going to Old Trafford last season for Arsenal, when we traditionally don't do well there, so there was still a little bit of that fear factor, but more just like on a superstitious level almost. really going to Old Trafford, I think it was our last away game of the season to keep the title hopes alive. We weren't ever in danger in that game at all. It was an odd experience as an Arsenal fan to go to Old Trafford and be so comfortable. And these days, it seems like trophies are the currency. Like that's all. It's just bragging rights, isn't it? And especially these days with social media fans, it's like, I guess that's something you can something objective that you can kind of hang your hat on to brag about. But really, I mean, the United project, as it were, I don't think those cup wins have really either here nor there. Last year, obviously Rice was on the move. It was between Arsenal and Man City, and that's because the Arsenal project is in a good place at the moment, and people can see the progress. There's a vitality about the club that makes people want to play for them, and I don't think United really have that, and I don't think winning the FA Cup and the League Cup really was neither here nor there with that. So they need to be in the Champions League, definitely, to get the players that they're going to need to get back up to that level that they want to be at. So I think it could be top 4 bust for Ten Hag. I mean, or he can get there through the Europa League, I suppose, as well, because they're in that, aren't they, through winning the cup?
Yeah.
So that could be a realistic game. I noticed you didn't mention that, actually, Adrian, about the Europa League. Don't sleep on that, because that could be the thing that saves him.
Yeah. To be fair, again, I think being in the Europa League, it gives us an out in terms of the Premier League if the season is bad and you still finish in the Champions League. But I think, in terms of like the 38 games throughout a season, that's what shows you the level of where you're at. And I think we need to really finish in the top 4. Like it's top 4, nothing really for us.
Okay. Ready? I'm going to give my thoughts on Man United. Now, I'm just looking at the signings brought in. Xerxes, 35 million. Lenny Euro, 52 million. Matalas Delit, 43 million. Mazaware, 17 million. So, quite a lot of money spent there. I think Man United, this season for them, it has to be better. I'm not just talking about the lead position, it's the style of play. We've been waiting to see Ten Hag's style of play for the last 2 years now, and he's chopped and changed, and he's not stuck to a style of play. So now this is the season when it's his third summer transfer window. He should be really starting to mould that team together. And this season now, there's not an excuse. And I don't expect them to challenge for the title this season. I definitely expect them to be challenging for Champions League. And I expect them to have more of a consistent style of play. For example, you know how Spurs play, Ange plays, you know how, not Chelsea, we'll come on to them later. But Man City, we know. Arsenal, we know. And let's see if we see Man United kind of have a style of play this season. And they've got to do a lot. Ten Hag has spent so much money, and I was talking to Adrian last season about this. The season wasn't going well, but the FA Cup saved Manchester United there. But the league position, was it 8th in the end? I think for Man U, was it?
I think it was 7. It might be 7 or 8. Yeah.
7 or 8. And then you got the Europa League 7. By winning the FA Cup. Yeah. So that saved Ten Hag's season. And then there was questions around if they were even going to keep Ten Hag in the summer. They got turned down by who was it now? It was who was the manager who turned you down, Adrian?
I don't know. There was definitely they definitely had talks with Tuchel and a couple others, but I don't know how concrete some of them were, but I think yes.
There was definitely something, and so the board were unsure if they were going to keep him. But as the summer went along, they have backed him. Man United now have 2 decent strikers, Xerxes and Højlund, and I think that they could work well together. Slightly different profiles of players, and is there anywhere, Adrian, you think you're short on, and you'd like to get in before the end of the transfer window?
Obviously, there's talks obviously about buying the centre mid in terms of playing a number 6 that can literally play with Mainu, that maybe is a little bit more, let's just say, got more legs than Casemiro. And I think that was something that they're looking at Ugarte about. And obviously you've heard Sander Berger, but he's gone to Fulham at the moment, or he's gone to Fulham, I think. But in terms of other positions, I think we're quite stocked in the forward positions in terms of we've got enough wingers. We've got a lot of youth in the wingers in terms of with Amad Diallo, Garnacho. Obviously Rashford isn't young anymore, but he's still prominent on the left. And I think we have enough options on the wing. I think it's more in terms of maybe the fullback positions. I know we've addressed that with Mazraoui now in terms of the right back position, but the left back position is a problem with Luke Shaw. I think you just can't rely on him to play more than 20 games a season, really. He gets injured every time. And I think, the best ability is availability, and you can't promise that with Luke Shaw. So I think we might not buy one left this summer, but next summer we definitely need to address that left back position.
Okay, so just
again,
confirm that. Are you saying so? The Mazraoui, he plays left back, yeah?
No, well, he's right-footed, so he's a right back. Yeah.
So he's playing right back. So who's playing left back at the moment? Dallo.
Yeah, so Dallo was playing left back on Friday night.
Okay, so you need a left back.
But I think you made a good point. I know not to stay on Man United for too long, but I think you made a good point about style of play. I think that's one big thing about like the United fans. They do back Ten Hag, but they want to see a little bit more of a style of play in terms of progressive passing, and even in terms of like out of possession and in possession. And I think out of possession, I saw a little bit of it, but then also in possession, that's why he's bought certain players like Mazraoui, Euro, these kind of players that on the last season. He wants players that are comfortable playing and receiving the ball from the back so we can actually pass through the thirds. And I think that's maybe, again, someone like, I don't want to say Maguire or Lindelof. They're maybe not as competent on the ball as when we had Varane and Martinez. So I think that's what he's trying to do, get players that are a little bit more comfortable playing with the ball, that aren't afraid to kind of to play that ball into maybe a dangerous area, but then it's going to take out 2 or 3 players of the opposition.
So, because at the weekend, you're playing Fernandes as the false number 9, right? Why didn't
him and Moon? I don't think Xerxes had more of Bruno hasn't had a preseason as well, but I think Xerxes still probably maybe you think he needs time to acclimatise to the English game. And maybe in terms of his fitness, he didn't think he was ready to start the game. So I think it worked well in terms of Mount and Bruno dovetailing. So yeah, I can't be mad.
All right. Okay. So anybody else want to say anything about Man United's expectations before we move on to the next club?
No more to say.
I think we said enough. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, it's there's a lot of expectations on Man U this season. A lot of pressure. They need to do better, much better. And as Tom, I think you said, Adam, I'm not sure if you said this as well. If he doesn't improve Man United this season, then he could be getting sacked. Yeah.
It's more than likely.
Because Adrian, knowing you from when we were talking last season, you were very calm about it all. I mean, we were talking every week about how, another loss for Man United, another poor performance. Pressure was building for Ten Hag, but you said no, sacking him is not the right decision. So now you're saying that this is for you.
Yeah, but I just don't think there's enough manager. If there was a standout manager that, like, let's just say Xabi Alonso did want to come to us, or there was a manager that maybe wasn't a sideways move for me, I probably would have been a little bit more more swayed in terms of letting him go. But I just don't think the managers that were out there were. It was would have been a sideways moves for me. Like Tuchel is not as good. I think he's not better than Ten Hag. So yeah, I was happy to keep him.
So just to finalise that, this is now your last season for Ten Hag to really get your Man United team playing better football and getting high up in the league as possible. Yeah.
No, definitely. But you got to back the manager, man. Back the manager.
Fair enough. We'll see how the season goes. Yeah. Okay. Who wants to go next?
Yeah,
Arsenal, Chelsea.
Go on, Tom.
Well, I was having to think about this one in terms of, what my expectations for the season are. I mean, the club is very chaotic at the moment. It has been for the last couple of years. You don't really know what to expect, whether it's sanctions or a million new players joining. I think similar to Man United. I mean, I think it might have been a different question if Poch had stayed, because then I think, you just said build on a strong finish last season. You're definitely looking at top four. Obviously, the genius new sporting directors have better ideas. New manager, it's going to take him time. Again, I guess the only difference between him and Poch last season is at least he's got a group of players who have spent a year playing together. A lot of the team that started on Saturday are players that were bought last year. So they've had a bit more time to gel. I think, if I'm being honest, we're going to have the same problems. I think we'll give some of the bigger teams, the other top six, a decent game, but I think we'll struggle to beat people like, your Ipswiches, the teams that are going to sit and put 10 man behind the ball. I would say realistically, I'm looking at similar to last season. Top six would be, it's not great, but it would be decent, guarantee some European football. I would expect us to win the Conference League 100%. I think that's one opportunity. I mean, people say it's not a big trophy. It's not. But at least, the trophy's a trophy, and it will be good for if this young team can just develop the mentality of winning, albeit there are bigger prizes to fight for. But similar to Man United, I think I just want to see, Maresca, the new manager, as I understand it, has got a very clear style of playing. He wants to play out from the back. He wants to play possession-based football, sort of Pep Guardiola. It's not even version 2 anymore, version 3. After Arteta. But I think top six, win the Conference League, and start to see improvement. The team, have a better understanding of each other, have a settled team, not changing 4 or 5 players week to week. Have a team that's settled, and that by the end of this season, maybe you're looking at, okay, do we need to strengthen in 1 or 2 positions, just to sort of have the finished article, rather than, well, the last 10 players we bought didn't go very well, so we'll just go and buy 10 more. I think if I was being realistic, level-headed, that would be my assessment of the expectation for the season, Chelsea. So,
Tom, looking at signings? I mean, I know.
How long you got?
No, not the ones you brought in. We ain't got time for that. Who else do you bring in? I mean, it's a glaring obvious one. There's a player that Chelsea need. What do you think?
Well, I mean, we need a striker. That's the bottom line. I mean, you look at. I mean, I know we'll talk about the game in a bit, but even on Sunday, we had chances, half chances, the kind of chances that someone who, you look at City in that game, they didn't really create a lot either. But Haaland, first chance he gets, he bags. So we need someone up top because we create chances. That's not really been the issue. Last season, we created quite a lot. But I think we could do with a striker. I mean, the bottom line is who do you go and get? There's no one really readily available who I would consider that good. Maybe Tony, but I don't think that fits the mould with what the club are trying to do in terms of buying young players. You know, can you be creative? Can you play Nkuku there? He's probably the most clinical player in that team, not necessarily an out-and-out striker, but that's an option I'd be looking at. I mean, I like Jackson. Jackson does a lot of good things. He holds the ball up well. He makes good runs. And, you know, you scored 15 goals last season, but the problem is he's a 1 in 4 or 5 striker. And, I mean, if you're going to even make top 4 now, let alone win the Premier League, you need someone who's going to, you know, one score goals, but also score goals in games when you're not going to get 3 or 4 chances. I think the other position I would be looking at, I mean, we've got 7 goalkeepers, and as far as I can tell, all of them are bang average. That's the other position I would maybe be looking at. I think we signed someone, Jorgensen from Villarreal. Maybe give him a go, see how he goes. I'm not convinced by Sanchez. Too many mistakes. But yeah, I think if I was looking at even more players, they're probably the 2 areas I would be focusing on.
Thank you, Tom. Guys, what do you think about Tom's expectations there for Chelsea? So he's saying top 6, winning the Conference League, and an improvement in the style of play. Anyone want to?
I was gonna say I firstly think that's kind of realistic in terms of the European. Like, you should be able to win that Conference League. I don't think there should be any teams that are anywhere near the quality of Chelsea. So I think you should win that. In terms of for me, I think it's about even having a settled. I would say probably a settled 11, or at least a settled maybe 7 to 8 players that you know are going to play every game. I think there's too much chopping and changing, and I think again, even like with the fullbacks, Reece James, Chilwell, we don't know, is it like who's the best fullbacks on each side? I don't know if Cucurella and Gusto are there, or is Reece James and Chilwell actually the better option? And then like even in the midfield, do you play the midfield 3 or do you play the 2? I don't. I know Enzo Fernandez is it Enzo, not Fernandez? Is it Fernandez?
Enzo,
yeah. So I think he's been made captain. So I don't think they're gonna drop him. So I don't know if it will be him partnering somebody else, but I think there needs to be kind of like a solid midfield that you know you're going to go into most games with. And then just lastly, I think the striker position is just a problem. I don't know. Obviously, I think you're trying to buy João Felix, but João Felix is another forward. He's not a striker. Where's he going to fit into that team? He's going to be another player that plays off the wing, So I don't know, man. I think there's a lot more. Like just figuring out for Chelsea this season. So I think it might actually be a long season for them. Top 6, they can finish top 6, but they will probably finish towards the end, the bottom side of that, maybe 5th or 6th, or maybe even 7th for me anyway.
Madam?
Was it a surprise, Tom, when Poch got sacked? As a non-Chelsea fan, I thought you ended the season well. I think there was such a lot of odd results that you had last year. I mean, it obviously I was focusing elsewhere on the table as the season was going on, so I was really surprised in the last couple of weeks, thinking, "Hang on, Chelsea are 6th here." And it's like, you know, you had so many odd games. I think, didn't you draw 2-2 with 10-man Burnley at home and things like that?
Yeah.
So, but for a few freak results like that, you could have even been in top 4, maybe. So it felt like, you know, you'd ended the season strongly. I know it's not the Chelsea way, you know, to have patience, but I felt he'd earned another year.
I think from a footballing perspective is madness, stupidity, whatever you want to call it. I thought Poch did a pretty good job last season. Inherited a squad that was abysmal the year before. Fine, had a first half of the season was difficult. He's trying to work out his best team, trying to integrate new players, couple injuries. But I think if you actually look at the Premier League form table, I think if you go from January to January to the end of the season, I think we would have finished we were either third or fourth in that table. I think what wasn't surprising was the decision. I don't think was really about football. I think Pochettino wanted more of a say in, the new model is very clear. You have the owners who employ the sporting directors. The sporting directors are going to choose who stays and who goes in terms of who you buy and sell. And I think Pochettino probably realised that quite quickly. And, obviously take like Gallagher, for example. The longer that went on and it became clear he wasn't going to sign a new contract, when he's captained Chelsea in almost every game last season, probably Pochettino's first name other than Palmer on the team sheet, he's probably there thinking, well, I'm trying to do this job with one hand tied behind my back. So it wasn't a surprise in that sense. I don't agree with the decision. I know a lot of Chelsea fans didn't like Pochettino because of his Tottenham, history. It just sums up the chaotic nature of the club. I mean, you bought in Potter on a 5-year deal. You got rid of him. Okay, we're going to bring Poch in. Good manager, track record, working with young players. Give him a year, and just as things look like they're starting to improve, then you decide, well, we're just going to tear that up and go back to square one. But in terms of, was it a surprise? Probably not. Disappointing, but surprising, no.
Yeah, I suppose nothing really is surprising these days.
No.
Chelsea,
all right. Let me tell you about Chelsea.
And end up winning the Champions League out of nowhere. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Chelsea have really benefited from that yo-yo. Your what is it? They say the floor is very low, but the ceiling can be very high.
Yeah. I think that in the past that has worked for Chelsea, because I think football was different 5-10 years ago to what it is now. I think back then big personalities in that Chelsea dressing room who could go and win big matches, Lampard, Drogba, Terry, whoever was the manager was almost irrelevant. But I think now with the way the game is going, you look at teams like, you look at City and the benchmark they've set. Guardiola's playing a certain type of way, have a very clear philosophy. They're not going to deviate from it from game to game. They win matches consistently because they have a style that works. And anyone who wanted to get close to City has had to follow that. So obviously Liverpool did it with Klopp. Arsenal now have done it with Arteta, and they had to give him 3 years to get to the position where they're able to just compete with City. And I think that's probably what the Chelsea ownership want. But I think that if that's what they want, they need to accept that they're going to have to give someone 3-4 years, no matter how much money you spend, because you can buy all these top quality players, but if you don't give them time to gel and learn complex ideas, then they're not going to be successful.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Thanks, Adam. I'm not going to cover much more of Chelsea. Just some concerns for me is this. Is that right? 50 players in that squad?
Yeah.
Players like Sterling couldn't get on the bench. He sent in his complaint. Chilwell, Gallagher not making a bench. It's going to be an issue, isn't it, going through the season, that size of the bench for Chelsea. They've got too many players on long contracts. And is it going to come back and really... I don't know. It's a difficult one, isn't it? It's like there's so many players there. They can't all play. Players are going to be unhappy. They're on long contracts. I just don't really get it. I don't understand the number of players. Why there's so many? And are you going to be selling any more, Tom? Is there any on the transfer list? I think Chalobah isn't he? But I don't think he's gone yet.
I think I read an article on Sky today that said that by the end of the transfer window, the final squad is going to be 25 players. I mean, which is what it has to be for the Premier League. I think that they will look to move people on, quite possibly, whether that's on loan or permanently. They're going to have to, because otherwise you end up with the repeat of a couple of years ago. We had the same issue: 40 players in a squad. We had not enough space. People lose motivation. If you've got 10 players who know every single week they're not going to play, and they just don't care in training and not trying anymore, then that obviously has a negative effect on the rest of the team. So I think more of the focus will probably be on getting rid of people in the last 2 weeks of the window. At least I certainly hope that's the case. Probably more players from the academy that will generate pure profit on the accounting side. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know. I don't know at this point.
I think like the fella said in the chat, it's almost like they've become a trading business, and I think the hope is get these players in young, sign them to long contracts, so the ball's in your court in terms of not ever desperately needing to sell somebody, and hope that their value goes up. It's a very, dare I say, stereotypically, it's a very American approach to building a football team. Of course, the players have got to play well, or they've got to play somewhere in order to go up in value. Chelsea have had the loan army for a decade at least now, haven't they, even under Abramovich? So it's nothing new in that sense, really.
It's just unpredictable Chelsea this season, isn't it? Like Maresca.
It's very difficult to,
Guys, can you hear me speaking? Am I cutting out?
Yeah. No, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Hear you now,
yeah. Which, going back to Chelsea, it's just unpredictable. Maresca's got a big job in his hands there. He really does. There's a lot of talented players at Chelsea, but you're crying out for a striker. You must sign a striker before the end of the transfer window. I mean, I know you've just signed Felix. Don't really get that one.
No,
he's not a centre forward. So look, I mean, Tom, your expectations are hopeful, but you have to get behind your team. And there's no reason why they spent. They should be doing better, to be honest. A team like Chelsea, they should be challenging for the title and getting in the top four. But this is a different Chelsea. This is a young Chelsea. The whole thing's been blown up by Bowley. And I don't know what this season will be. It'll be building, experimenting. You have to give the manager some time, but will Bowley give him the time? Time will tell. But there's a bit more I want to say about Chelsea when we come on to reviewing the game, but I think I'll leave it there for now. Okay, Adam, you're up next. Talk about Arsenal and your expectations this season.
All right. I think we're a bit strapped for time, so I'll keep it brief. I don't think anybody except City can say they expect to win the league. So definitely wouldn't say that. I expect us to challenge again. It kind of the opposite of what I said about Ten Hag, I suppose. I think a trophy would be a really nice sign of progress. Obviously, won the FA Cup in his first season, Arteta. I think another cup win would, if we don't win the league, which is more likely than not. Let's not forget. I think a trophy would be something tangible. I think anybody with a brain can see the progress that there has been, but without the silverware to back it up, you do leave yourself a bit vulnerable to that criticism, I guess. So I'd like to see. The last 2 years we've had really tough draws. 2 years ago we got City away in the third round of the FA Cup. Last year we got Liverpool at home in the third round of the FA Cup, and we absolutely murdered them and just didn't take our chances. So a lot of it is the luck of the draw with cup competitions. So hopefully a bit of a kinder draw in the FA Cup this year, and you know, once you've won a few games, you're in the quarterfinals, and then from there, you know, it's you're more likely, I think, to put more stock in it once you get to that stage. So yeah, I think hopefully, you know, top two, a good cup run, maybe a bit further in the Champions League this time, get to a semi-final maybe. But I enjoy watching the team. You know, and I think we forget sometimes that's what football should be about. Nobody really, even not City. I mean, they're as good as guaranteed, but nobody's guaranteed trophies.
Sorry, Adam, you're missing the elephant in the room, aren't you?
What's that?
The elephant in the room. What's the main target? What are you going to do? You're going to win it? You're going to win the league? Talking about the cups.
I don't know.
Sorry, Adam, I had to jump in there. Yeah.
No.
You have to make a call. Call it out. Realistically, no. I wouldn't say.
Wow.
I wouldn't say we've got no chance. I think a lot of people talk about Arsenal being arrogant, which I'm not sure I agree with. I think to look past City would be arrogant. Is the hunger still there for City? I mean, you know, they did the 4 in a row, which no one's done. They really don't have anything left to prove. Arsenal still got it all to prove. Could that be a difference maker at the end of the day? You know, if I had to put a bet on, I couldn't honestly bet on it and say that we'd win. I think we've got a chance. I think we've got.
So what is it, Adam? What's stopping Arsenal? What is it? Is it a lack of one more player you need?
No.
What is it stopping them from?
You see, this is the thing that I disagree with these days. You know, you'll hear a lot of the pundits. Arsenal need a number 9. Arsenal need a goal scorer. Complete rubbish. You know, a team that's just broke their goal scoring record 2 years in a row, scored 91 goals last year. Goal scoring is not the problem. Sometimes you just don't win a football match, and I think you know, in this day and age, Man City have set such unrealistic standards of consistency that, you know, and obviously social media thrives on you know, hot takes and narratives and all that kind of thing. No team wins 38 games a season, not even Man City. So, you know, there will be games that you just don't win, and that's football at the end of the day. Doesn't mean that there needs to be this inquest and that this needs doing and that needs doing. Quite simply, the thing that stops us is Man City. You have a generational team with a massive asterisk next to it. Let's not ignore that elephant in the room either. So, you know, you're up against a behemoth, and any other season, the last, you know, any other era, the last 2 seasons, that Arsenal team would have demolished the league. You know, our first Premier League winning team won the Premier League with 78 points. That would barely get you like top 3 these days. The bar has just been set so high by City for so many reasons that's, you know, you just can't look past that behemoth that's in front of you. But everybody, you look at Bayern, 10 years in a row, that came to an end. Eras have got to end some time, but until it happens, it's hard to believe.
Okay. I get you. I get where you're coming from. You're not confident that you can win the league this season. So it's Arteta. What is it? His 6th season this year? Yeah.
5th full season, I think. Yeah, 5th full season, 6th overall.
Yeah. Okay. Now, last year they got pretty close. How many points was it in the end? They missed out by
2.
Okay. So Arsenal, it's the same team as last season. They've made how many signings have they made so far? Is it Calafiore? That's it so far? Have they brought anyone else in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like the Spanish midfielder Marino will come in before the transfer window shuts.
Okay, good player. So with those 2 players, do you think it's,
you know, probably looking to, yeah.
Sorry, Adam. Do you think those 2 could make a bit of a can come closer this season?
I think it's possible. I think left back sees
Arsenal not far. They're really not far.
Yeah, they're not. They're not. But just that bar is so high, but yeah, in terms of strengthening the team, left back was very unsettled last year. Obviously, started off with Zinchenko. Tommy Ashley would have played there a lot more had he been fit, which is always the question with him. So left back was the clear area that you could say it was unsettled. It was up for grabs, and you have to imagine in the long run, Calafiori will play there. Timber probably would have made it his own had he not had, unfortunately, got that season-ending injury on the first day. So we've shored up what was probably one of the only real areas of weakness in the team. I don't like singling out individual players because again, that's very much like how things work these days. You know, people like a scapegoat, and it's very rarely ever down to one person. But you know, there were some lapses from Zinchenko there last season. He played left back in the home game against Villa, had a bit of a mare for their first goal, being about, I think, like 15 yards deeper than anyone else, playing him onside. And you know, though a couple of games, we lost 2-0 at home to West Ham. We lost 2-0 at home to Villa. Now, you might not think it at the time, but if those two games end 0-0, still not a great result, but we end up winning the league then on goal difference. You can do all the ifs.
Fine margins.
Yeah, and what till cows come home. So if we've added that little bit more solidity, I mean, and it sounds crazy to say it because it was, you know, by far the best defense in the league last season. If we've shored that up even more, it's possible. Maybe those fine margins will tilt in our favour this year. It's not to say I don't believe in the team. It's not to say that I don't see the team doing amazing things because they do. But just when you've got that Goliath of City in front of you, you know, it's a big ask.
I was going to say, can I ask a quick question to Adam here, just quickly? If Arteta doesn't win the title this season, basically, do you think there's a limit to how far he can take you, and whether you want another manager to maybe push you over the top, or do you think Arteta is the man to actually maybe win you the title? Or do you think, would this be like maybe one of his last seasons to actually try?
It's a good question. I think if he feels he's got it in him, because I think for me, you know, for me, this is like, as a fan, this is frustrating. Seeing how passionate and how driven he is, it must absolutely kill him, like that he hasn't been able to take that step. Like we said, 5th full season as a manager, you know, he's a baby. So I don't think it's now or never. I think inevitably questions do start to come in. You know, have we reached the ceiling? And if this is the ceiling, do you know what? I'm still enjoying every minute of it, so I won't complain about that. But I don't think there'll be any question of him, you know, calling it a day or being asked to leave, because I think as much as anything, looks like it's probably Pep's last season, one way or another. You know, that could be for, you know, see what happens with the case, obviously with the 115 charges. But there's been a lot of noise that, you know, it's time for Pep. So I think both the club and Arteta himself would want to see in a post-Pep world how we could do. I think if that does happen, you know, that would maybe give that little bit more confidence about leaving City in turmoil. And I think us being the most settled team with the clearest identity, you know, that come into the final stages of our project. So I don't think it was now or never. I think they'd want to see, you know, what does the world look like post Pep, and maybe give it 1 or 2 years to see if that comes to fruition. I think we're a long way off reaching that point yet where we can say, you know what, it's gone stale.
Yeah, good question, Adrian, because that was what I was going to say next, so you beat me to it. Tom, did you want to say anything about Arsenal?
No, I think I would echo echo the point. It's a question to raise. He's obviously done a good job with the team. Got given more time than managers at a lot of other clubs would have been given, but it's benefited for them. I think this season, I think Arsenal do have a shot of winning the league. I think if they're going to do it, the only team that's beaten this City squad to the league was Liverpool. What was it, 2020? And the only way they were able to do it was they literally blitzed them early. Yeah. I think Liverpool won their first 18, 19, 20 games in the season.
26 wins out of 27 games.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, even though they dropped off towards the end of the season, like post-COVID, they had enough of a cushion. So I think that's the template that Arsenal have to follow. Like, if they're going to win the league, they've literally got to they're looking at probably having to win your first, got to win 18, 19 out of your first 20 games. I think in terms of for Arteta this season, if they don't win it, I don't think it's, massive. But I think it will come to the point where they'll have to start winning trophies, whether it really realistically be a Champions League or a Premier League, because otherwise you end up sort of with a kind of Pochettino Spurs style story with a team that everyone enjoyed, that no one could disrespect the football he played. He had Spurs playing really good football, but they didn't actually win anything. So maybe not this season, but within the next year to 2 years, I think Arteta has got to win something. Otherwise, maybe players start thinking,
that's fair.
Yeah, can we take it to the next level? If you haven't won anything, someone's, Real Madrid coming for a Saliba or something like that, is he maybe going to think twice? So I think maybe not this season, but next season they've got to win something big.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Good, Tom. Yeah, I like that. Okay, now it's over to me, I guess, right? Spurs. Right. Expectations for the season. Guys who follow me have a good idea what that is. I'm not too sure if all you guys know, so let me tell you. I don't think much will be different from last season. I don't think we brought enough top players into the team to kind of push us up to the next level. And when I mean push us up to the next level, I mean come close to winning the cup, win a cup. I mean coming fourth, closing the points gap to Liverpool, City and Arsenal. The quality of signings have come in. Solanke, I'm okay with. There's still question marks around him, but he had a good season last year. So and we needed have I frozen there? Am I back? The other players we brought in have all been youngsters, 18-year-olds. Now what is going on? Like, what is going on? Like, surely, and Ange's going along with it all. He's just saying, I'm happy with this, I'm happy with that. Are you really happy? We're bringing in a load of kids. And there's nothing against the kids. And I'm sure they're very talented. And they could do well at Spurs. But we're looking to improve from last season. And I was hoping that we'd bring 4 or 5 top players in who could challenge the starting lineup and really help us this season. And it hasn't happened. We brought in Werner again, which is a completely don't get at all how Ange can rate Werner. He's rubbish. I'll be honest here, he's rubbish.
In the chat agrees with you as well.
You know what? I actually quite like Werner, but it's even better watching him play for Spurs than it was watching him play for Chelsea.
Tom, you couldn't like Werner, man. Honestly, he is so poor. And so, trying to tie that all up, I think, look, we will win a lot of games. We will score a lot of goals. We're vulnerable at the back still. Our midfield, I'm not happy with. I don't think we have a player in there who can control games, who can get stuck in and tackle and slow games down. And when we come on, about the Tottenham-Leicester game yesterday, I'll talk a bit more about that. But, yeah, I think we'll be in around the European places. We'll win one week. We'll thrash teams 4-0. Next week, we'll go up to Newcastle and get thrashed. I just can't see it's going to be a massive difference. I think we are a good side, and I'm probably coming across really harsh on the team. But what I'm trying to look at is improvement and getting closer to the top teams and winning something. And the transfer window we've had disappointing. Like looking at a winger, we were linked to Neto. We made a bid for 40 million plus Oliver Skip, and then Chelsea nicked him and got him. Okay, there's question marks over Neto over his injury record. I hear that. But then we go and sign William Oldberg from Burnley. Sorry if I pronounced his name wrong there. But and again, up and coming winger, 19, French player. Who's a dribbly winger who can take on players. It's a player that we need in the side, but we needed a more kind of experienced player who then get straight into that team, take Johnson out the side, take him out. Look, so just again, I mean, I'm going on a bit here, but I don't think it'd be much different from last season. You know, challenging for a European place. We might get lucky in a cup run. Get some good draws, get to a final, semi-final, but it's just going to be kind of similar as last season. So that's my expectations. Anywhere from 6th to 4th is possible, and we could win a cup. We could, but that I'm not certain about that at all. Anyone want to comment?
Yeah, I just.
No, sorry, go on, Tom.
I just don't see Spurs winning a trophy. It's like they're allergic to trophies. I mean, I think I agree with the assessment. Spurs last year, especially first half of the season, good football, attacking football. Ange has a style of play that's clear to see. But the back end, you know, top 4 was there for the taking. Villa tailed off. Spurs couldn't follow through with it because they didn't have enough depth in the squad. And I think that was the real issue. I don't think you needed necessarily, you know, like you said, 3 or 4 players. You didn't need 3 or 4 players to come in who are necessarily going to start, but you needed, you know, Udogie last season, left back. As soon as he got injured, you know, Spurs struggled. I think, yeah, you needed a bit more. You needed a bit more depth. Someone like Neto would have given them that on the wings. The back 2, Van der Ven, good player. Not convinced on Romero. I think he's a liability. I think I'd probably agree with your assessment. Anywhere 4th to 6th is possible if they can be a bit more consistent and they do play good stuff. I like Solanke. I think he'll get goals. But yeah, I think I can't see Spurs winning the trophy.
Yeah, neither can I. Not with those signings in this transfer window. And also, just to come back on it, this Ange learning from last season, is he going to change it up a bit? Is he going to be tactically flexible in games? Is he going to go up to St James's Park in a couple of weeks and play that high line? If he does, yeah, you know, it's not learning, is it? It's not learning. So there's a lot of question marks around Spurs this season. Andrew's got a lot to do. He's got a lot to prove. Not just that, the players as well. A lot of the players have to step up. We need to see a different level from some of them. Maddison disappeared second half of the season. He needs to be better. Our midfielders, especially the experienced ones, Basuma, Bentancur, need to be more consistent. Udogie, second season in the Premier League, he should be better. Van der Ven, the goalie. The wing play, and it's another thing with Spurs. When I compare our forward line to the other top teams, we come up short. We haven't got a top forward line. We haven't got a winger who can actually take on his man and he's a goal threat, a consistent goal threat. Yes, they might do it against the kind of lower to mid-table teams, but I mean, I'm talking about the big games, the top 6, 7, 8 games. You know, the teams in that position in the league. You know, the wingers for me are not good enough, and maybe the young boy will come good, but it's too much pressure on him. We brought in Gray, we brought in Bergvall, players which look good, got a lot of potential, but who knows how they're going to get on this season. So, yeah, Tom, what you said, I can't argue with what you said. We don't look any unless Ange is going to suddenly surprise us with his tactics and the players that we have raise their levels this season, consistency, playing consistently well, it's going to be the same as. Adrian or Adam? Adam, don't think you've been yet?
Well, Ange came out and said, I believe he said anyway, can't always believe what you read, but I heard that he said, I normally win things in my second season.
Yeah, he said that, yeah.
So he's made a bit of a rod for his own back. So you mentioned Neto, Dan. Did you see anyone else that's been signed that you think kind of, why were we not in for them?
There was another player. Obviously, everybody was linked to Nico Williams, played for Spain. He saw him in the Euros. But he's no one seems to be able to sign him. I don't know if it's the wages or what. He was a player that I thought would be good at Spurs, that top quality, but we're not going to get him. We're not in the Champions League. And we wouldn't pay the wages he's asking for. He's on some ridiculous salary. I don't know if people know. So then you've got Neto. There was another winger as well. He was on our radar. The name's passed me now. Eze. We've been linked to Eze a lot. Yeah, and there was a £65 million release clause. You know what you had to pay Palace. Eze, I'm sure, would have come to Spurs. But yeah, we've missed that boat, it looks like. And he could have played two positions. So he could have played number 10. He could have played out wide. He would have given us good options. So that one was one that's missed. There was this French player who I think in the end, where did he go now? I think he went to Paris. Who?
Yeah, is his name Doué or something like that?
Doué, yeah. Adrian, right? Yeah. He went Paris Saint-Germain, I think. Yeah. We were linked to him, but again, he was a young player, but a lot of potential. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with the recruitment, and just sorry, Adam, I kind of interrupted you there, didn't I? But another thing, question. And another thing is, what was I going to say now? The club making these decisions to sign these younger players and Solanke and Werner, if they don't pull it off this season, and we're not even any better, have a better season than last year, there's going to be outrage. There's outrage already before the even season starts going about the lack of signings. Imagine if it's another, they're going to die on their sword. Ange as well, because Ange has green lighted these decisions for these players. So they're going to have to pray that these young players step up and manage to help us.
You're not alone there. I mean, look, Liverpool haven't signed anyone.
Yeah, but Liverpool, look at the level of quality they already have. And their defensive line, midfield and forward line.
It's an aging team, though, isn't it?
Is it?
It's an aging team, though.
Other than Van Dijk, who else are you talking about?
Salah not got long left.
Spine.
Salah?
That's their spine, isn't it? That's their spine.
But I think Liverpool probably have enough players already who have been there and won things. I think maybe that's the real difference between Liverpool and Spurs. Spurs don't have anyone who's won anything. I mean, Romero won the World Cup, fair play. But other than that, it's not really a winning mentality. I think you could say the same at Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea don't really have a lot of players who won anything either because we've ripped up our entire squad. But yeah, I think Spurs lack the depth. I think that's the real issue. I mean, you look at most other teams, if they have one or two injuries in the rest of the top six, especially now at United strength, and if you have one or two injuries, they've probably got someone who can come in not quite as good, but almost as good. I think Spurs lack that. I think Spurs are a bit thin.
And Tom, you make that's a good point there. Is with Spurs, and it's something what's been going on for years. The biggest problem is they have good players. We can play some lovely football. If you saw the game last night, especially in the first half, it's a mentality thing. It is just a mentality thing. And that's been our biggest problem for years. So, yeah. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Adam. Adrian, do you want to add anything to that before we wrap it up?
Just quickly, I know you mentioned something about basically Ange kind of not being a yes man, but like in terms of maybe the signings that are coming in and him being a bit more forceful. But I think like looking back at it, when Antonio Conte was a bit like that, I think the board didn't like that. They kind of want somebody that maybe they can maybe be kind of the puppeteer and kind of, he's not gonna kind of bite back the same way Antonio Conte did. And I don't know if Ange's is gonna be more like Conte, and I don't know if you would actually like him to be more like that, where he's a bit more abrasive and a bit more, in your face in terms of what he wants.
So, Adrian, what's the question?
I was just saying.
Is he a puppet?
I was just saying in terms of, do you think Ange's going to be more like Antonio Conte, or do you think he's more of like a yes man in terms of he would just accept what the board is going to give him?
Listen, I mean, he looks like a yes man at the moment. If you're just bringing in young players, that's it. Come on, he must be a yes man. So what manager playing, a team what's been around about the Champions League spots? We're in a Champions League final, challenging for some cups, coming close but losing in the final or semi-finals or whatever. Would any other manager? Let me put this back to you, Adrian. Would the Ten Hag accept only young signings at Man United?
No, I don't think he would. I think personally, for me, he has an identity or a style of players that he wants. Whether it's a De Jong, and he, like you saw last summer, he was very. Was it last summer, December before? He was very kind of persistent on that. He wanted a type of defensive mid like De Jong, and I think, yeah, like I don't think Ten Hag is more. I think he's someone that's a bit more. He knows what he wants, and if he's not getting what he wants,
would he, Adrian?
Yeah,
Adrian, he wouldn't accept just signing young players, and that's what Spurs have done this window, on the whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's your point there about is not Conte at all, definitely. But Ange has brought some better football to Spurs. Let's try and look at some of the positives. We scored more goals last year, a bit more exciting, not so boring like Conte and Mourinho, Nuno. But there's so many question marks about his tactics, and it's just the high line and inverting both fullbacks. Does he have to invert both? Can't one stay back? It's just this season will tell, and it's early. We've only had one game. The window hasn't shut. I'm hoping that we can bring in a couple more players, and those players are experienced players, especially in the centre midfield, cover for left back. But yeah, we'll have to see how it all goes. It's too many question marks for me, uncertainties. But okay, is that it with that, Spurs? I mean, doing the expectations amongst ourselves, could you see how it just could go on, like talking like everyone? Man, you could just I didn't think it would go on that long, but it was really interesting getting everyone's perspectives and then coming back and asking questions or whatever. Yeah, brilliant stuff. So I think I'm not too sure how long people have got. Let's try and wrap it up in 15 minutes. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah,
can people 15 minutes? Just want to check with everyone. Quick, 1 minute review on each game or 2 minutes. Quick comeback, and then we're done. I think for tonight. What do you reckon, everyone?
Yeah, sounds good.
Adam, good.
Good.
Adrian,
Yeah.
Tom, you're
good.
in. Yeah. All right. Let's go. So, let's go with the first game of the Premier League, and that's Adrian, Man United versus Fulham. I know you touched on it a little bit at the beginning, but just give us your quickest summary as possible. No pressure.
Okay, let me try and keep this quick. I think first half, I think we played the better football. I think we really should have scored at least one goal, maybe even two. And I think that maybe it brought a little bit of uneasiness in the stadium where the fans were a bit growing in and a bit unhappy in terms of they wanted to see a goal a bit earlier. And I think we still have problems in terms of the transition. So when we are basically lose the ball in the attacking position, I feel like it's too easy. Like the spaces between the midfield and the defense, it's too easy for Fulham, for example, to they had a couple of opportunities where they could have scored before we made it 1-0. So we're just lucky that for example, Maguire was at the back and he made a really good interception. But realistically, I did enjoy the performance. I'm happy with the win. I'm happy that at the beginning of the season, you're not going to see the most fluid start, the most fluid version of the team. So compared to how we played last year when we played Wolves 1-0, I mean we beat them 1-0, and compared to this season, I'm happy with the 1-0, and I'm more happy with the way we played. So yeah, man, moving forward, I hope Brighton we can continue that and get a win this weekend.
Thank you, Adrian. Anyone want to go with that, with their result? Anyone else?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, so I was watching, I watched the Chelsea v City game on Sunday. I was actually watching it with my girlfriend, and she goes, the comment things after the first half, she goes, "God, this is boring." I was like, I agree. I thought it was quite a boring game. Not a lot really happened in it. It wasn't very entertaining, especially second half. I thought we played okay. I thought we stayed in the game. We had a couple half chances. Can't really say that I saw an emergence of any particular style. I mean, the manager's been working with him for 3 weeks, so it's not surprising. I think okay probably sums it up. Even if we beat, I think this game is never really going to tell me that much. I think I'm more interested in, next week Wolves. Those are the kind of games that we need to improve in this season against the teams we should beat. I don't think City had to do a lot to win the game, if I'm being that honest. And no one, I'm looking at having a look at the players. No one really played that well. But I thought one player who did stand out for Chelsea was Romeo Lavia. Been out for like a year. Come into the team kind of as the sixth sort of pivot. I thought he looked comfortable receiving the ball on the half turn. Playing a couple passes that beat 2 or 3 players. So I think I'll be looking. I mean, he's got to start the next game. I mean, I think the problem he's going to have really this year is you've got Enzo and Caicedo, both, £100 million players each. Can you get all 2 of them, well, both of them and Lavia into the team? I don't know. But Lavia was the one who showed some promise, I thought. I think it's more about next weekend. I'm more interested in.
Okay. Adam, Arsenal?
Yeah, solid and unspectacular. First half, completely on top. Although Ryan made an incredible save to keep it at 1-1. Second half for Wolves caused a lot of problems. They didn't really, but they unsettled us. There was a period where they had 64% possession for the second half, so it was a complete mirror image of the first half because we had 64 to 36 in the first half, and they reversed it in the second half. But no real chances they had or anything like that. Just Partey's fitness is not great. They started to dominate the midfield, and last quarter of the game, Saka pops up with a goal. Bit out of nowhere and settles the nerves and job done. So a bit like Adrian said, really, first game of the season, you just want to get a win. Not the champagne football that we might see going forward. Not a game that will stick long in the memory, but another clean sheet. Nice to see as well. Getting forward to talk to Arsenal need a striker. We'd created a few chances, hadn't really, nothing clear cut. Wolves were maybe settling into a bit of a rhythm, and then nice ball from Saka into the box. Havertz heads it in. So it's that the thing with Havertz is maybe his finishing is not 10 out of 10, but he can score lots of different types of goals. He'll get you a few headers. He'll get you some tap-ins. His movement's good. If he's going through one-on-one, we don't get too many one-on-ones anyway because teams tend to play very deep with us. So it tends to be the more instinctive across the box finishes anyway. Wouldn't have much confidence with him going through in the keeper on a one-on-one. But it's not really our game. So yeah, it was nice to see a bit of an answer to that criticism about, do Arsenal have a plan B and someone that can open up those tight games? Because we did kind of see a different, a different kind of open play goal. We know we're the set piece kings. So maybe we're starting to bring that into open play a little bit with, the cross and the header for the first goal. But yeah, we've got a really tough start. Tom, you were saying obviously about trying to go down that Liverpool route of blitzing it. First 3 away games, I think, are Villa, Spurs, and City. So,
well, that's tough.
Yeah, really tough. If we do, 2 wins in a draw or even 2 wins in a defeat, that's the thing. The margin for error is just so small now. So who knows? We'll see. But yeah, I think after 5 games, we'll have a very good idea of our trajectory.
One sec, guys. Hold on a second. I'll be back in a minute.
So I was gonna say, Adam. Actually, I wanted to ask you a question about Havertz. Do you think necessarily that he is like, I think he's very similar to Jesus, but I don't know in terms of. Do you think would you a fit environment Jesus? Would you prefer Havertz still to Jesus, or do you think Jesus is probably he's second to Havertz now?
It's a really good question. I think Havertz has cemented the place. I think I saw a stat earlier. In the 14 games he's played up front, he's got 17 contributions. I think 9 goals and 8 assists, and that's over 14 games. So that's you're looking at kind of just under half a season's worth of form there. So it's not the biggest sample size in the world, but it's a decent sample size. I think it's his position to lose. I think you might see Jesus more in the wings this season.
Yeah.
Jesus did come on. He looked sharp. Arteta's made a lot of noise about him pre-season, saying he looks trim, he looks hungry. So great option off the bench against a low block. Great option off the bench for counter-attacking if we're 1-0 up, say. And a low block's going to open up and give us a bit more space. Havertz has got a great fitness record. So if he does get injured, you happily see Jesus come in, play up front. If he could get back to that form that he had in the first 6 months when he joined us, he was electric. And obviously got that bad injury in the World Cup. Knee injury is always going to take it out of somebody, especially when their game's built on that explosiveness like his is. But hopefully maybe he's got a bit of that fitness back. So either way, it's 2 great options. And that's why I think I don't see us signing a number 9. I don't think we need one personally. Another wide foot like Williams would be incredible. I think that's obviously not going to happen. Man, I'd even take a punt on Sterling. If I think the wages will be a bit prohibitive, but for someone to share that right wing role with Saka, I know Arteta likes to be a like for like swap, but I think we do need someone. He doesn't trust Nelson. Nelson's not really done it for us, so unless he starts playing Jesus out there a little bit more, which is definitely possible. We do need someone that can take a little bit of pressure off Saka. I mean, I don't buy into the whole thing. You look at how much Salah plays for Liverpool. When you're a good player, you're going to play 90% of your team's minutes. It comes with the territory. But yeah, maybe we could give him a little bit more of a breather. It was good to see him. He came off after he scored the second goal. So he got a good 20-minute break, I think, at the end of the game. I think if we do make a signing up front, it's going to be a wide player rather than a striker. And I think that's the right way to go.
Fair enough. Should we just quickly touch on the Spurs game last night? Did anyone watch it?
Sort of highlights.
Anyone else? Adam? Adrian?
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah,
I didn't catch it.
Yeah. Okay. So, in a nutshell, we were very good first half. The only thing really was the lack of finishing. Many chances, something like 9 corners. So many chances. Solanke could have had 3 goals. Loads of chances. Just poor finishing. We did get the 1 goal from a good header from Porro. Good cross from Maddison. I was happy. I mean, it's Leicester, and I know they're in a bit of turmoil at the moment. So I kind of expected us to dominate and create chances. Disappointing that we didn't convert more. And Johnson, very poor for me. Couldn't hold the ball up. Couldn't take on his man. He was kind of like the standout poor performer from that team. He kind of looked out of place. Everybody else was playing quite well. And Leicester really had, I think they had one shot in the first half. The possession stats were ridiculous. The passing stats. I mean, it was interesting. It was only one big chance created. So I'll come back to that at the end. A lot of chances. Leicester defending very well. They were. And a few of some of the old players that used to play in the Premier League, Vestergaard, remember him? Ndidi. You'll remember Vardy, came back to haunt us later on in the game. So, yeah, happy with the first half. More goals yet, but happy with the style of play. Second half starts, same thing, on the front foot. Nearly scored again 2 or 3 times, but didn't take our chances. And then bang, Leicester had one chance, one good ball in the box. Where was the marking of Vardy? I think he got done poorer on the back post. And it's 1-1. And then, okay, it can happen in games, We've seen it all before. The team sitting back, defending for their life, and then getting a goal on the break or whenever, changing momentum in the game. But when that goal went in, the whole game shifted and the crowd got behind Leicester. And Leicester, they just went for it. And they were really trying to score. And the game went back and forth. And we lost complete control of that game. Lost control of the ball. We couldn't pass the ball. We were rattled. And it was scary how quickly that could have turned because we were so dominant of the game. And all it was is Leicester just getting that goal, getting a bit of momentum, getting stuck in more, winning the 50-50s, just believing in themselves. And as the rest of the half went, we made 5 changes, and changed loads of players. It didn't really make much difference. Maybe we got a bit more ball possession back. Leicester had some excellent chances. And
I think Vardy had the biggest chance really of the second half, innit? After he scored his first goal and he was put through. Yeah,
he had a good chance, another good chance, and there was 2 saves from Vicario as well. We did have chances still in that second half, but the way Leicester defended and the spirit they showed that game after being on the back foot for most of this first 60-65 minutes. I mean, I when I did a video last night on the match reaction, the first thing I did was praise Leicester because they weren't going into that game in good kind of change of manager, lack of signings. The fans weren't really too confident of this season. But I saw some kind of, and Ndidi for me as well, he was fantastic. He was winning tackles up and down, making blocks. He really rolled back the years when he played in the Premier League. Now, that's the sort of player I think Spurs need. I don't know if Ndidi's been playing like that in the Championship for most of last season, but he was fantastic. Vestergaard, Faze at the back. You had, remember that guy, the right back, plays for Leicester.
James Justin.
James Justin. The longer the game got on, the stronger he got. And then Vardy. Bloody hell. It's like a ghost from the past, eh? Coming in with that header. He weren't even fully fit. And he popped that away. And, terrible. And a game we should have won. It should have been 3-4-0 first half. And there's a lot of questions about how that ended up. How we just lost total control of the football. Nobody, not one midfielder, just slowed it down, took their time, took the pressure off the team, and then we could slowly build back into it. It was it's head scratching. But then again, all of that, and I may be moaning a lot. It is the first game of the season. Does it say a lot about how the season's going to go? Maybe there's similar signs and failings from last season. But yeah, man, disappointed, deflating. It was very deflating after a game. I thought we were going to get a comfortable victory. So that's it with that. Anyone want to comment before we wrap things up?
No,
That's quite a nice note to end on.
Yeah.
Jamie Vardy was the highlight of that game for me.
Did you celebrate, Tom?
No, I'm not too fussed. I can't really comment from current position. We'll see later in the season.
Yeah, guys, thank you. Just hang around for a minute, but if anybody was watching this live stream, I'm well aware that the quality of the stream hasn't been great. I could just tell. I don't know what that is. I'm going to look into it. I have an idea, but if anyone did watch or listen, just give us your thoughts and comments. It's a new show, first time we've all done this together, so it would be good to hear how you thought we all got in. I enjoyed it. I don't know about everybody else today. It was good fun, guys.
Yeah, man. It's always fun. It's always fun. It's always fun chopping it up about football, isn't it? So
Definitely.
It's good to talk about other clubs. I tell you, when you talk about Spurs every week and the pain we're going through, and the frustrations. So it's nice to hear some other people's frustrations. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you for watching and listening in. Take care. See you all soon.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers.